Remember the good old days, the days when Detroit muscle ruled the roads. Ah yes, the days rich with the scent of burning rubber and leaded gasoline. But of course, the safety police and the tree huggers have killed all the fun, haven't they? With their airbags and their emissions controls. Or maybe not. You know, I'd like $1 for every letter or email I've ever had over the years from someone moaning that today's cars aren't as much fun as they used to be. But you know, I kind of like the idea that if I have a crash, this steering column's not going to come spearing through my chest. I kind of like the idea that I can breathe the air in LA without my throat burning or my eyes watering. And I like how modern cars show how ingenious we humans can be when it comes to solving a difficult problem. Behold, the Shelby GT500. It has airbags, it has stability control, it has catalytic converters, and it has 662 horsepower. The first thing you notice about the Mustang is the steering. Mustangs have had terrific steering, the best steering I've ever experienced in an American car, period. And the GT500 is no exception. Turn-in is wonderful, just pull the wheel off center, the nose dives for the apex. Better yet, you can sense what each tire is doing at the contact patch with the road. It really is remarkably sensitive steering, terrific. Either I'm getting jaded, or maybe it's because there are so many cars you can buy today with more than 500 horsepower. But the GT500 doesn't really feel like a 662 horsepower beast. It's really quite docile around town, and out here in the canyons, the tall gearing gives it a real elastic surge in power. It's still astonishingly fast though. This car covers ground at an incredible rate. Initially, when you hit the brakes, the pedal feel is strong and you stop pretty suddenly. But I sense the brakes are going away a little bit, even on these canyon roads. There's not quite the authority to the stopping power that there was 10 minutes ago. You do want to make sure the tires are warm though. On cold tires, this thing will slip slide everywhere, even with the traction control. The GT500 is a brash and noisy ride on the street. V8 always burbling in your ears, even around town. The ride's pretty firm. There's lots of vertical motion in the body on any road surface. The live rear axle's pretty well controlled, amazingly well controlled in fact, but every now and then it'll do a little hopscotch just to remind you that the laws of physics are immutable. You sit up kind of high in the Mustang. The steering column is not adjustable for reach, it only tilts. And the shifter's a little notchy, particularly around town. It's just a little bit hard work. But you could drive this car every day, all 662 horsepower of it. Well, the Camaro feels a big car on these canyon roads. The steering's more deliberate, slightly slower. The whole car's demeanor is more measured than that of the Mustang. But it's deceptively quick. After all, you do have 580 odd horsepower under the hood. And that big V8 really loves to rev. Above 4,000 RPM all the way up to the 6,200 RPM red line, it really delivers. The brakes are good too. You can go deep into corners, turn in, balance the car, and then get on the gas. You've got to be careful with this though, to roll on the throttle. No punching it as you go out of the corners. Do that and you get the traction control working overtime to contain all that torque. The brakes are very good. A little soft on the initial tip-in, typical GM brakes, but consistent in their feel and their stopping ability. I like the Camaro's driving position better too. You sit in the car. In the Mustang, you're sitting on top of it. You almost feel like a monkey on the end of a stick. The steering wheel has a nice feel, good profile, and that soft suede style grip. The shifter is better too. It's smoother and easier to use. The Camaro interior has the usual Camaro interior shortcomings. There's no nav, and the visibility is a little difficult. You really are like in a bunker in this thing. But overall, this is the easier of the two to live with around town. It rides better, the exhaust is a little quieter. All in all, the Camaro feels just a more sophisticated car than the Mustang. Okay, so that's enough to give us a flavour of both these cars on real-world roads. Let's take them to the track and see how they perform.
Really strong brakes, real confidence inspiring. Little push in the middle, roll on that torque on the exit, putting the power down well. Motor pulls well all the way to red line. Good stability in a high-speed sweeper. That little bit of push feels good at high speed. Into 5, leaning into the banking. Oh yeah, that's how you do turn 5. Up into 6. Big entry speed, feed to power. Nice rotation at turning. A little bit of a rough ride over the bump, but no loss of traction. Aggressive on the brakes into the corkscrew because I trust them. Flat on the power, hooked up, down into 9. It's an enjoyable package, can be driven hard. Super quick car when you consider its weight, which we probably don't want to consider. Little oversteer, gotta love that. Hey, it's a pony car. That's an enjoyable experience in the ZL1 Camaro. It's comfortable on the track. It's got enough push to give the driver confidence. And then a little bit of oversteer on the power. It's a powerful car. It's a big car, I can feel the weight. But it's really not detracting from the experience. Very enjoyable track car. We'll have to see how that Mustang measures up. Good power. Into the brakes, down into turn 2. Shifter's good, not a problem there. Really puts the power down well in second gear, except in turn 3. Got some power. Let it out. Does not stop as well as the Camaro, but it puts down power better. Really enjoyable car, powerful, kind of scary in the braking department. Down, boys, sit. I'm telling you. That was for the camera. I think it was still pretty fast. There you go. Okay, right, down, boy. Sit. Do it right. Woo-hoo. I like the way the Mustang comes out of turn 11. I like the way it goes in even better. All right. Enjoyable ride. Let's summarize the Mustang. Very powerful car. Feels kind of big, and it is, but it's an overachiever. A lot of speed for the price, for the technology. Kind of a wild ride. I don't like the braking, but it doesn't generate confidence. So, not a sophisticated car, but a very fast car, and a really, really fun, a good times car. With a smile on your face. Thank you, Mr. Shelby.
Well, Randy, I doubt whether we've seen a Mustang or a Camaro lap this track as quickly as these cars have since the good old days of the Trans Am series. I mean, they're incredible cars. Big power, lots of grip. What was your impression?
Just the way God intended. Front engine, V8, rear drive.
You bet.
And both manufacturers have done such a great job of taming all that horsepower the cars handle. And they're terrific to drive.
What was the highlight for you, though, between the two of them? What was the biggest difference?
The biggest difference simply was braking.
Yeah.
The Camaro has far superior brakes.
I did a few laps myself, and having said that, the Mustang felt very accessible. It didn't feel like a 662 horsepower car. You could drift it, you could take liberties with it, and the front end seemed, you know, it had the best bite and best steering.
I love that part of the Mustang, and I think that really, with a brake upgrade, the Mustang's going to be the better car for track work, and probably a better car on the street too, because the Mustang is better balanced. The Camaro has more understeer through the middle of a corner, and the Mustang really puts the power down. They've got the suspension geometry right in that live axle. On the other hand, on a bumpy road, the Camaro is going to take the lead because it's got a far more sophisticated suspension.
So I think what you're seeing here is a little bit of a chassis imbalance in the Camaro. It goes into this understeer phase, and then it's got so much power that it starts to transition into oversteer, and you've got to wind all that lock back and try and catch it.
In racing, we call that push loose. If you've already got an understeer,
yep,
when you go to understeer, it takes longer to get the correction in. And the Camaro, perhaps for that reason, it's extra sensitive in the lower gears, second or third, whereas the Mustang puts the power down better.
But I was impressed watching your laps that the Camaro is a more consistent car around here. You seem to be able to nail the lap time within 1/10 of a second, lap after lap.
The Camaro is track ready, and that's why it was consistent in terms of lap times.
Okay, next up, we're going to find out who has the bragging rights over the quarter mile.
Camaro Mustang, how you looking? You ready? Roger that, we're ready down here. I'm not carrying in. 3, 2, 1, go.
Each of these cars represents an amazing achievement. Each delivers astonishing power and performance at an impressively low price. These two cars are the best muscle cars Detroit has ever built, period. But of course, this is a head-to-head comparison test, and that means there can only be one winner. Now, what I'm going to say next is going to intensely annoy, or at least half of you, but hey, that's my job. So, the winner of this head-to-head is a Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Sure, the GT500 beats the ZL1 on the dyno and the drag strip, but performance driving is a little more multi-dimensional than that. The Mustang's also marginally faster than the Camaro on the racetrack. We overlaid traces of each car's best lap at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca and found the lead swap 12 times, with the GT500's superior power-to-weight ratio enabling it to finally snatch the victory halfway down the final straight. But that advantage only lasts for the first lap. The Shelby then gets rapidly slower and slower than the ZL1 as the brakes go on vacation. And while the GT500 has better steering, better turn-in, and, on a smooth racetrack at least, where mid-corner bumps won't upset the live rear axle, better mid-corner chassis balance than the Camaro, even on a canyon road you quickly learn it can't maintain the pace for long. The truth is, the Shelby's a bit of a one-trick pony. The Camaro is heavy and hard to see out of, but it is the better daily driver of the two. It has a better ride, a better shift, better seats. It's a lot better behaved on cold tyres too. And when you start leaning on it, the Chevy has the stamina the Shelby lacks. No matter how hard you push the ZL1, it's more consistent and controlled and confident in its responses. Bottom line, you can go faster in the Camaro for longer, regardless of the road. And that's important, because we don't drive everywhere a quarter mile at a time.
Hang on 1 second, don't talk yet. All right, initial first impressions of the GT500. Thank you, Mr. Shelby. Great car. I hope you're driving one in heaven right now, because I'm in car guy heaven right here at the wheel of this Shelby Mustang. A little smoke never hurt anybody. Sure. Oh, that's minor. But don't breathe it. Don't breathe it. Yeah.